Hi everyone, and welcome to the Grad Cracker and Taylor Wessing webinar. I am absolutely delighted to be joined by Taylor Wessing today, who are a leading international law firm. They focus on technology, media and communication, private wealth. And for this reason, they have a particular focus on recruiting STEM students. Law is a relatively new sector for Grad Cracker, and Taylor Wessing was one of the first law firms to join us a couple of years ago. I'm really excited to share some of the career journeys with you today. And I'm also joined by my colleague Jessica, who you all know and love. The route to becoming a lawyer from a STEM background is a very different journey to many of the graduate training schemes that you might be used to. So today we're going to tell you exactly how that works and open your minds to what an amazing things that you can do in a career in law. We're really lucky to be joined by different levels of people from Taylor Wessing, from trainees still undergoing the initial law training, up to a partner in the firm that has represented clients at the Supreme Court. So let's meet the Taylor Wessing panel. Firstly, from Taylor Wessing, we have Alice Hasted, the Graduate Talent Advisor. We work really closely together, and Alice is going to give our audience a full overview of Taylor Wessing and their opportunities before we meet the rest of the panel in more detail. There's a wealth of information about Taylor Wessing and their careers on the Grad Cracker Hub, and this webinar will be listed there too tomorrow. So we're also joined by Lauren Mountainay. Yeah.
Just be aware, I think we've got a slight issue with your connection, so I do apologise, everyone. But it sounds as though you're back again now, so sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to make sure everyone could hear what you were saying. But keep going. If I might have to interrupt you again, but I'll take the lead if we lose you again. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. So we're also joined from Taylor Wessing by Lauren Mountainay, who is a future trainee solicitor who is currently studying on the legal practice course, or the LPC. We're also joined by Rachel Potts, a current trainee solicitor who joined Taylor Wessing in 2019, and Matthew Royal, who is a partner at Taylor Wessing in the life sciences area, who joined in 2004. So initially, I'm going to start with Alice by asking you to just give me an overview of Taylor Wessing and why you love to recruit STEM students to become trainee solicitors.
Thanks, Sophie, and hi everyone. Thanks, obviously, Grad Cracker, for having us today. I know we're all really excited to be here. So Taylor Wessing, we are a global law firm and we serve the world's most innovative people and businesses. Deeply embedded within our sectors, we work closely together with our clients to crack complex problems, enabling ideas and aspirations to thrive. We have 28 offices, and that is across 16 jurisdictions, and that includes Europe, the Middle East, Asia and the US. 4 of those offices are based in the UK, and there is one in New Street Square, which is where if you were a trainee with us, you would train and work all the time. We have an office in Shoreditch, which allows us to support tech startups, one in Cambridge that also allows us to support tech, but also life science clients. And then our most recently opened office, which is in Liverpool, and that was formed in 2018. So at Taylor Wessing, we have what helps us to stand out in our market is a clear international as well as UK sector focus and expertise. We are known as leading international players, and we have an emphasis on tech, media and communications, energy and infrastructure, private wealth. We are actually one of the only firms that are able to offer both a private client and corporate offering for our clients, as well as a life science offering. So we are a seamless one-stop firm for life science companies, and we are top ranked for patent litigation, licensing work, corporate, venture capital, research and development and regulatory, so a lot of different things there. Yeah. And we do advise on all stages of the product cycle as well, and that's pharmaceuticals, medical devices, medical tech, research tools and diagnostics, and all the way to post-patent expiry. So there is, again, a really wide offering at the firm for our life science clients. Brilliant. STEM students, have a huge range of skills that can be transferred into legal profession. As an example, your ability to communicate and present, problem solve, writing detailed reports, extensive research of a particular issue, that they all translate into the daily workload of a lawyer. Your background for your degree means that you possess an understanding of the challenges that our STEM-centric clients and businesses face, And that really does put you in a really good place to use those logical thinking, problem solving skills that you have to find the best solutions for our clients, as well as have that really smooth transition into being a successful lawyer at Taylor Wessing. To us, it's just really important that you can see those transferable skills, and I know the team are going to be speaking about them and how that has helped them in their journey later. And they're what we want you to kind of highlight throughout the application process, and they're going to be what's going to help you to succeed when you are at the firm. We at Taylor Wessing do recruit a mixture of both law and non-law. I know that's a question I get asked quite a lot, and is always a concern from non-law students, but it's really important to us that we have a good mix, a diverse range of students and trainees in the firm. You have different qualities to bring to the team, and that's going to help you and the rest of the firm to increase their creativity. We do usually have kind of a 50-50 split, but actually at the moment our 2 years of trainee cohorts, are more non-law than law, so that can happen, and it just shows that we are definitely open to recruiting a mixture of degree backgrounds. It's also, I think, super important to remember that everyone who joins Taylor Wessing will enter on a level playing field, and that's whether you have studied law or not. I know Lauren and Rachel are going to touch on the Gdl, the Lpc, and that the purpose behind them is to get you all on that equal playing field. And obviously, once you're here at the firm, there's lots of training, lots of involvement with the grad team, with the partners throughout the whole firm, to make sure that you're supported on your journey with us. So please don't ever feel that you're at a disadvantage. We're here to support you, and that's why we're here today.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Alice. Just to expand on a couple of bits that Alice mentioned then, GDL and LPC might be acronyms that some of our STEM audience haven't come across before. So GDL is the, I've completely gone back, the Graduate Diploma in Law, and the LPC is the Legal Practice course. And these are 2 parts of training that you need to undertake to be able to join Taylor Wessing or any law firm as a trainee solicitor. And as Alice said, Lauren and Rachel are going to be touching upon these in more detail as we go through. But just to stick with you, Alice, for now, how do you actually go about recruiting students onto the training contract? What's the process for a STEM student to join Taylor Wessing?
So the only way to be considered for a training contract at Taylor Wessing is through completing our summer vacation scheme. This is essentially a 2-week internship, and you complete that in June or July. And I know with the current circumstances, we would usually do that in the office, but we ran our scheme virtually last year. And if it has to be that situation this year again, we will do that. You can apply for the summer vacation scheme when you're in your final year of university and beyond. So if you've graduated, a career changer, that's also amazing. Lots of, again, transferable skills there that you can look at, but you do need to be in your final year of university. And after the summer vacation scheme, there isn't a final interview stage or anything like that. We will look at your performance throughout those 2 weeks and be able to offer you a training contract, hopefully. Just to add, for those that are earlier in their degree, if you're not in your final year, we do have our first year insight day that's on the 1st of April next year as well, that for those that are earlier in their career that you can also apply to. So yeah, that's just another option as well.
Fantastic. Thanks, Alice. We're going to come back to you towards the end of the webinar to run through the application processes for these roles and your kind of hints and tips. And these vacancies are all listed on the GradCracker Hub at the moment, and they're all closing in January. So still lots of time to get your applications through. But before I hand over to Jessica to meet everybody in a bit more detail, I just want to ask each of our other panelists one thing to just really kick things off. So what initially attracted you to work for Taylor Wessing in particular? So let's start with you, Lauren.
Hi everyone. So the first time I actually heard about Taylor Wessing was at a law fair. And they had this really impressive interactive board with them, which straight away made me think that this was a firm which was really up to date on their technology. They really stood out from all the other law firms. And also the first person I spoke to had done a medicine degree. So straight away, I felt someone that I could relate to, having done a biology degree myself. And it was just really interesting to talk to someone who was interested in sciences, in the technology divisions and life sciences sectors that Taylor Wessing has. Even though you do loads of different kinds of law at Taylor Wessing, there's got these like sector focuses. So that really appealed to me, that you could work in like disputes and still be working with life sciences companies. And then past that, everyone was just really friendly that I talked to and really approachable.
Brilliant, thanks Lauren. Over to you, Rachel. Why did you decide to work for Taylor Wessing in particular?
Yeah, so I was initially attracted to Taylor Wessing for its really high level work that it does in the life sciences and the tech sectors. So that instantly sort of, you know, resonated with me because those are both sectors that I'm interested in. And along with that, I also felt that the culture was a really nice place to be, and everyone is super friendly and super approachable, and everyone's sort of got their own personalities, which makes the firm an interesting and sort of enjoyable place to be. So those were sort of my key reasons.
Great stuff, thank you. And finally, Matt, same to you, but also in your case, because you've been with Taylor Wessing for 16 years now, for you, what makes Taylor Wessing such a great place to work?
Yeah, thanks, Obi. So I think the initial attraction piece is actually very similar to what Lauren and Rachel have already outlined. It was the life sciences and tech focus, and then my experience while doing a vacation scheme at Taylor Wessing. What's kept me here for 16 years? That's probably the key question. So I think there are two things. The first thing is absolutely the quality of the work that I've done. I've been lucky enough, sort of actually right from the start of my career, to be involved in large, high-profile cases, and that has continued throughout my time at Taylor Wessing, and that gives you, I suppose, the reward of having a really fulfilling sort of job. At the same time, and the second thing is the culture and the people that I work with, because I might not have stayed so long had it not been the right culture for me. And yeah, I have thrived, and 16 years has absolutely flown by.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Matt. So on the Taylor Wessing Gradcracker Hub, we do have so much information about what life is really like at the company, from career development opportunities to benefits and the sectors they work in. So remember to refer back to that after you've watched the webinar today. And I'm now going to hand over to Jessica. Hopefully her internet will be a bit more stable than mine, and she's going to talk to the rest of the panel as well.
I think that was the perfect timing then, so thanks. So Lauren, I'm going to start with you, if that's okay. So since you're still going through the training programme, sorry, did you mention what university you studied at?
No, so I studied at the University of Nottingham. I did say biology degree, but I did biology and chemistry before doing a biology master's. I just cut the chemistry then.
Brilliant. And you did that at Nottingham University?
Yeah.
Brilliant, good stuff. So could you explain the journey from the vacation scheme to actually join the firm as a trainee, and kind of talk us through the process if possible?
Yeah, so this is a bit confusing. As already said, it's not the same as most other jobs, and actually the Gradcracker website is really good at explaining this. But you, straight out of the vacation scheme, once you've been offered your training contract, you don't actually start work for 2 years. So you do 2 years of university. The first one is the Gdl, which is the Graduate Diploma in Law. And the second one is the LPC, which is the legal practice course. Mm-hmm. So the Gdl is basically, the idea of it, it's trying to like catch you up with all the law students. So you have to do the 7 main modules of law, which you need to have to qualify as a lawyer at all. These are tort, contract, trusts, land law, criminal law, EU, and constitutional law. Which sounds like, thank you. I thought I was going to forget one then. It sounds like a lot, but actually they're all so interesting. And I really enjoyed the Gdl. The way that it's set up is in a really great way for sciences students, because it's all short problem solving questions, basically, where you're given a scenario and then you just have to apply the law to see what the kind of solution is. And I think that's actually, sciences students, STEM students are tend to be a bit better than that, art students who might want to write more essay style answers. The LPC is basically really practical, like how does the procedure of law work? So how does the court system work? What do you need to do to start a claim against someone? You also do a lot of business law, which is really interesting. Like how do the everyday workings of a business, like how do companies work, which I really didn't know that much about before. So that's been really interesting learning. And then the next semester I'm doing skills, which is like interviewing and advocacy, drafting. And then we have our electives, where I've picked one in intellectual property. So that includes all the patent stuff. So I'm really excited to do that and get back to a bit more sciencey things. So yeah, and then after that, I'll be starting my training contract next summer.
Brilliant. So that then officially means you're then at Taylor Wessing.
Yes, yeah, I'll be a trainee solicitor then.
Very excited. So just to go back to kind of the LPC and the GDL, how do, because if I was a student, I'd be a bit nervous about these additional kind of courses you've got to go through and the funding of it. So could you kind of tell me how Taylor Wessing helped you with the funding of going through these courses?
Yeah, so Taylor Wessing pays for both of the years, which is great. So you don't have to worry about fees at all.
Yeah.
And they also give you a maintenance grant while you're doing it, which is really useful. Just it's kind of like getting a student loan that you don't have to pay back. So yeah, Taylor Wessing give you a lot of support for that. So it's really good. And they're quite full-on courses. So it's definitely worth, not trying to like fit in a job at the same time, like use the money and relax and just focus on your studies.
So 2 questions there then. Where do you do these courses, and then how full on are these courses? Are they like literally Monday to Friday 9 to 5, or what is it actually like a week?
Yes, so Taylor Wessing asked that you do the course at a university called BPP, which is and they want you to do it in London. And basically the idea of that is so that you get to know other people from Taylor Wessing. You also get to know just other people doing the GDL and the LPC, which I think as a STEM student, I didn't know anyone who was going through the law system when I applied, and until I was on the vacation scheme meeting other people. So it's really great opportunity to get to know people. So I definitely recommend doing it. It's nice to have like other people who understand what you're going through. In terms of how full on the courses are, they are quite full on. I've treated both of them 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And I think you just kind of think, the LPC especially, you're getting ready for work, so just treat it like a job.
Right, yeah, good kind of mindset to be in, I guess. It's preparing you.
Yeah.
Is that way, Lauren, am I right in thinking Rachel and Lauren, is that where you met when you're on the courses then? Did you meet each other?
We actually hadn't met each other until this, so.
Sorry, I thought you guys knew each other.
Bringing people together.
Yes.
No.
Okay, so this is a question to Lauren, Rachel and Matt. So all 3 of you, say Lauren, if you stick with you, and then we'll go Rachel and then go Matt, but what benefit, and this is a massive thing I've learned just from speaking to you guys before today, but what benefit do you think a STEM degree brings to a career in law?
I think one of the really important ones is being able to understand things in depth. So like really looking at like, you think biology, or the really tiny things that go on in your body or whatever, but then also seeing the bigger picture. I think that's quite an important skill when it comes to law, like understanding the detailed law, but also seeing where does this fit into like this company's business and what they're doing.
Yeah, brilliant. Rachel?
Yes, so in terms of STEM degree, I think it sets you up really well for a career in law, because all the skills that you pick up throughout that degree are a lot more transferable to the skill set of a lawyer than people might initially think. I know when I was going through it, people would be like, oh, that's a big jump. But in my head, it's different industries, but it's the exact same skill set. You're using your analytical ability, your logical thinking, your critical thinking, and sort of your problem solving skills to be able to solve problems for clients and come up with solutions. And I think that the way that you think as a STEM student and the way that you approach problems sets you up perfectly for, you know, the sort of skills that you'll need as a lawyer and that are going to benefit your clients.
Definitely. Great. Thanks, Rachel. Matt?
Yeah, just to reiterate everything that Lauren and Rachel have said, which I agree with entirely, and maybe pick up a couple of additional points. And look, we as Alice has said have a life sciences and tech focus, and so a lot of our clients are in the life sciences and tech space. I think one of the advantages of coming from a STEM background, it is that it gives you an understanding of what the focus of those businesses is, and it gives you an authenticity to discuss the business with our clients and actually sort of and actually have those discussions on a scientific level with them, and also gives you the curiosity to ask questions about how the technology works and how the businesses make money. And that it's a softer skill that actually really does benefit you as a lawyer, because it allows you to connect on a personal level and a business level with your clients. And one more, if I've got a couple more seconds, is I think we're seeing sort of the development in areas of law is moving towards, in particular, tech. So cybersecurity, data, they're really, really big and developing areas of law, and they're crying out for STEM graduates to come along who understand how the software work and how that all works, because that's actually a really important part of what we're going to advise on as lawyers.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you mind if I just jump in there, Jess? Sorry.
As long as it works, Soph, you can jump in whenever you want.
Okay, if it doesn't work, just tell me to go away. But yeah, I think this is a really important point that everybody's made, and I think this is something that's was really important to me to get across today. You know, about how important those STEM skills are in the law of today, but also the law of tomorrow, and how the companies are going to progress and how it's going to become more and more integral. But also just to touch upon some of the things that Lauren and Rachel said about, you know, the transferable skills. And this is something that, again, STEM students, I think, need to be aware of across any industries they're looking at, that actually maybe you haven't considered a career in law, but why not? Every industry needs those transferable problem solving, critical thinking skills. So I think it's so important to get those messages out. So yeah, I think and that's great. So I'm hoping that lots of our STEM students today are going to be very, very excited after this.
Hope so too. So sticking with kind of going through the training element and the support that Taylor Wessing offers. So we've mentioned obviously they help in terms of funding, but what kind of other support does Taylor Wessing offer while she's going through the kind of training schemes? Lauren, even.
So when you start the GDL, you have email contact with kind of the recruitment team, and they're helping you through that year. We've had a bit more contact so far through the LPC. We've had a Zoom call, and we've got a networking event in a couple of weeks, which is all about meeting people in the different departments so that you can see like where you potentially want to work. And Rachel can tell you more about the LPC contact, but there's also been some events between the trainee solicitors and the future joiners. So last year we had a social event where we met at Taylor Wessing and had some drinks, and then went out to a bar afterwards, which was really nice and so useful to talk to the people who have already gone through it and can give you loads of help and advice on what the best way to tackle it is.
So to say that you're doing it like virtually from home at the moment, again, because it's funny, because I had a presentation this morning and I've been talking to about 50 STEM students. You know, some of them were a bit nervous about, you know, starting a job in the middle of a pandemic and doing it virtually. So you've probably got to experience both sides of it, what both of you have, in terms of going through the training process and doing it in real life. face to face, and then also doing it virtually. And how are you finding that? Do you feel like you can still connect, you can still pick up the phone and have those conversations with people, even though you're doing it virtually?
I feel like it's probably made me feel better about talking to everyone, because everything's like calling people or on Zoom. So I feel like I'm on the same level, whereas before, like it wasn't that I felt unwelcome, but you had to like ring someone while they're at the office, whereas now that's what everyone does anyway. So I don't think it's not really affected me that much. But
that's good, that's really good. Rachel, I'm going to move to you next, if that's okay. So you've been with Taylor Wessing since 2019. And you started your training in 2017. So you're now working as a trainee solicitor, which is fantastic. Well done. Can you tell us a bit more about your background and where it all started?
Yeah, sure. So I studied chemistry at the University of Bristol, and I always kind of had in my head before going on and studying chemistry that law was maybe something that I wanted to do, but I wasn't 100% sure. So my sort of approach was, I know that I love chemistry, I'll go and do that, and whilst I'm there I'll figure out more about the legal and the process for going through the Gdl and the Lpc and all of that. So that was my kind of initial approach. So I went on and did my chemistry degree, and then after my chemistry degree I took a year out and I paralegaled in a small construction firm. Yeah, so I did sort of like got a bit of legal experience there, working with the teams at the construction firm on various different sort of legal matters, and that sort of really confirmed to me that law was the path that I wanted to take. So whilst I was there, I was applying to training contracts, and it was then, gosh, it must have been 2017 that I got my training contract off with Taylor Wessing. So I got that then after doing my year of paralegaling. And I went on to do the Gdl and Lpc in London. And then, I started at the firm in August 2019. So I've been here for just over a year now, and it's flown by. But yeah, that was sort of my quick background as to how I got to where I am.
Brilliant. Well done, Rachel. It sounds like Matt should be catching you up. 16, 17 years and she's just over there. So you're now on your third seat, am I right in saying that, Rachel? And many people might call these as rotations. So what practice areas have you worked on so far? And tell us a bit about the seats and how all that works, just for anyone that doesn't know.
Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, the way that the training contract works, which is when you actually have your 2 years at the firm where you're working, and you work there for 2 years before you then qualify as a solicitor. Over those 2 years, you will sit in 4 different, what we call seats, which basically means like a department, and you rotate around, and the idea is to kind of give you an insight into a few different areas of law, develop your skill set across numerous different areas, and then enable you to make a decision at the end of that 2 years as to which area you wanted to qualify into. So for my first seat, I sat in the real estate team. My second seat, I sat in the life sciences, the patents litigation team, and I now currently sat in the corporate technology team. So I've had a good overview of the different practice areas and the different industries that Taylor Wessing are sort of leaders in, which is great.
I'm going to say something, and this is no disrespect to anyone that's studying law, but you must feel like quite early on, must feel like your STEM degree is playing a massive part of your job already. You know, you must be feeling as though you can, like a bit like what Matt says, you're understanding, you're already on it, you've got that mindset, and you must see it, already, do you?
Yeah, I think you do, and it's been helpful in certain areas more than others. So when I sat in my patents seat, all of the work there was focused on sort of life sciences and pharmaceuticals, and so my chemistry background there was really valuable. Not necessarily the specific modules that you studied on your chemistry degree, but just being able to apply the concepts and the principles that you've learned about to sort of the problem that you're looking at. So it definitely has been a massive help, and it does sort of put you a little bit ahead in terms of you already know the terms that are being used in these sort of life science products or these medical devices, you're familiar with them. So yeah, it has been a massive help. And again, just from the sort of skill set point of view, it has been, again, a big advantage, because I think STEM students generally just have a really good way of approaching problems. And so that maybe comes easier to them than other people. So it's definitely done me well. And it's a really good sort of starting point to my career as a lawyer.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because there might be students listening now thinking, oh, I might be at a massive disadvantage for not studying law. Is this law firm even going to take me seriously? Not knowing what you guys have all just said, might think, oh, are they even going to look at my application? But whereas now, where you're at in your career, it's actually a massive advantage, isn't it? And it's just so funny how that shift kind of happened over the years. So it's great, fantastic.
It's good.
Yeah, really good. So Rachel, staying with you, so if you could please give kind of obviously you've touched about the different seats and different things you've done, but can you tell us a bit, Annie, about some of the projects that you've been doing whilst in those seats?
Yes, so sort of given that I've been in quite different departments, there's been different projects in each one, which has been really good. But in real estate, I worked a lot with sort of corporate real estate. So that was things like buying and selling of big property portfolios, and I typically did a lot of work with sort of big well-known hotel groups, which I can't mention, but sort of going through the buying and selling process of that and working with our clients to sort of buy a big portfolio of 200 hotels. So that was really good, and there's a lot of sort of critical thinking needed throughout that process. In patents, my sort of big project that I worked on was looking at a life science pharmaceutical product that's used for sort of disease management, and they were in a sort of like a litigation process, and it's about analysing the scientific literature that's out there on the product. So for patents, for your invention to be able to have a patent, it's got to be novel, it's got to be new, and something that no one else has done before. So a lot of your role there is analysing papers and scientific literature to sort of see whether the invention is new. So that was really good, and my science was definitely a massive help to me there. And now in my corporate technology seat, I'm working with tech companies, so either startups or big companies, and the work will either be helping them set up a new company, so they might have an idea that is related to the tech sector, but it can also touch on the life sciences sector. So one of the clients that we work with has got setting up an app in the life sciences sector, so it's kind of like tech and life sciences combined. And we're trying to get them set up in the UK and Europe. And then you also work for big companies, big tech companies who want to buy or sell other tech companies. So those are the sorts of things that I'm working on at the moment, which is really good.
It must be quite exciting as well to be like almost at the forefront of technology all the time, people to coming to you with these new ideas, new businesses, and listening to their stories and what they're doing. It must be really interesting on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and it makes it quite exciting because you're kind of involved at the very early stages of someone's technology related idea, so it's quite exciting be able to see those ideas grow. So yeah, that's really fun.
I know we've really drilled home this point, but last final point about how you feel about your STEM degree and how it's helped you. Anything else you want to add to that, Rachel, regarding the advice?
Yeah, I would just say to anyone who's a STEM student looking to sort of pursue a career in law, view it as a positive that you've got a STEM background. That is, looking back on me going through that process, that's one thing I didn't do. I very much viewed it as a negative, like we said, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be up to the scratch of a law student. But actually, it gives you a fantastic skill set that is going to set you up really, really well. It means that you've got interests in sectors that are very much at the forefront of the legal industry. And it's actually a standout point, because whilst 50% of the trainee intake are non-law, there's still, being a science or STEM or maths student, anyone from that background, it is a standout point, and people will quite often be like, oh wow, that's really interesting. And I kind of wish I'd seen it from that perspective when I was going through and used it to my advantage rather than having it in my head as a disadvantage, and I wish I'd kind of gone in like, yes, this is me, and I've got a chemistry background and I'm ready to pursue my career in law, rather than being like, oh, a bit worried about it. It's definitely a positive thing, and especially at a firm like Taylor Wessing, where the focus is on sectors such as life sciences and tech. Like, you're very, very sought after. So yeah, go with it, be positive, and it's a massive help.
Love that. That's great.
I think that's a really important point, and I think just to touch upon, I mean, Taylor Wessing are investing every year into attracting STEM talent into the business. You know, they've got this amazing hub on GradCracker where we've got all that information. They really are investing in attracting STEM candidates, and I know we've touched on quite a lot of life sciences bits today with yourself, Rachel, and Lauren, coming from those backgrounds, and yourself, Matt. But actually, just looking at your seats, you know, real estate, construction would be so useful in that area, civil engineering, and then technology, obviously all those computing disciplines. So they are, Taylor Wessing are open to all STEM disciplines for their insight days and vacation schemes. So there really is just a massive amount of opportunity in a career in law, isn't there?
It really is.
Sorry, Jess, I just butt in. That
No,
you
good.
Yes, you now.
Matt, I'm going to come to you next, and we're going to rewind it back to your PhD days, and we're going to start from there, and then go to where you are now. So, Matt, you studied medical immunology.
Yeah, medical immunology. So I'd done medical microbiology as a degree up in Edinburgh, and then was studying my PhD in I won't say the title of the PhD because it gets complicated, but medical immunology in Cambridge, and I decided during my PhD that I wasn't going to stay in sort of bench science sort of going forward. I was looking to sort of looking for career opportunities outside of working at the bench. But I mean, I was fairly clear that, I mean, I really enjoyed my degree and I really enjoyed my PhD, and I wanted to use my scientific knowledge and my scientific interest in my career going forward. Now, I was aware of patents because a number of my friends who I'd studied with were training to be patent attorneys. And I was also aware from other friends who were actually sort of going through the training contract process. So they'd done the Gdl, doing the LPC, and going and actually at that stage were starting at law firms in the city. And I knew from them that actually STEM graduates were highly in demand at law firms. And I mean, this was a number of years ago now, but it's as true today, if not more true today than it was back then. But sort of through that insight, through sort of my connections of sort of peers at university, I had an idea that going into law, potentially going into sort of patents, which is where I ended up, was something that I would like to sort of at least explore. So at the law fair in Cambridge, I met Taylor Wessing, one of the trainees that was there was a scientist who was sitting in the patents team at the time. So I had a good chat with her. Applied for a vacation scheme, which I was successful to get in getting. Really enjoyed my 2 weeks at Taylor Wessing on the vacation scheme, and yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah. So since you joined the firm, you've obviously worked your way up through the business. You are now a partner, which is fantastic. Can you give us kind of a brief overview from starting the firm to where you are now?
Yes, of course. So, I mean, you start in the first 2 years was doing the training contract. So I think as Rachel and Lauren have explained, that's doing 4 different seats. And so, I mean, that was a really that was also a really enjoyable process, and taught me a lot in terms of sort of the general corporate sort of structure of firms and how Taylor Wessing worked to advise those companies. But yeah, I qualified into the patents team. I think as I mentioned earlier on, I've been lucky enough sort of from a very early stage to be involved in high profile, high quality work. And that actually started before qualification. Because I qualified in September 2006. In August 2006, there was an emergency preliminary injunction application in court, which I wasn't on holiday, fortunately, which I got involved in, and that was the basis of my first big case. Okay. And that kept me busy essentially for the next two years of my career. So we were advising a Canadian company called Apotex, and they were injuncted. We had a trial about the validity of the patent, which we were successful on. As part of that, I actually travelled out to Canada to watch some experiments at a pilot plant facility in Brantford. And so sort of this is all really exciting and interesting stuff for a junior lawyer, and it then sort of I suppose happily for me continued, and there was a damages inquiry, and this is sort of the first damages inquiry of its kind. It's still referred to now as being sort of the leading case, and Apotex was awarded £17.5 million at the end of that. So really good experience first up at Taylor Wessing. And there are so many highlights. I sort of do. I also did the first monoclonal antibody biosimilar case for a company called Hospira, which is now part of Pfizer. And then sort of as things have progressed and as I've become more senior, I've sort of taken on more of a strategic role in cases, rather than sort of, I think initially I'd have been working very closely with the experts, helping them to prepare their written evidence and prepare for giving evidence in court. And that, I think that's a real advantage of having a STEM background, is actually dealing with experts. And these are eminent sort of scientists and sort of engineers and medics who will give you their time and will explain things to you, and you capture those views in a written report. I think now I'm sort of say high level, looking at sort of more of the strategy of the case, and that's also given me the opportunity to take on sort of other responsibilities within the firm, like being a graduate recruitment partner. And I think it's really rewarding for me, and it's really important because trainees like Rachel and Lauren are the future of the firm, and it's fantastic to be to be instrumental in some small way in starting them on hopefully an incredibly successful career at Taylor Wessing. And as you say, they're both catching me up and soon will overtake me. So I don't know. I feel like I've talked for a little while, Jessica. I mean,
yeah, no,
I suppose
because I think you've answered a few of my questions in one answer. Okay,
I'm sorry. I jumped at that. So I suppose one other point I did want to make is sort of in terms of the career at Taylor Wessing, you are supported throughout your career at Taylor Wessing. I have been supported throughout my career. I have been lucky enough to be championed by some fantastic colleagues who have supported me through sort of my junior years and then up through into joining the partnership. And that's very much something that Taylor Wessing provides. It provides a structure through which your career is able to advance. And so we've got a really tremendous learning and development team who put together some really good programs to help you flourish and to be the best lawyer you can be. And so that starts sort of with the training contract. I mean, we offer great training, and at the end of that, our trainees are in a fantastic place in terms of their experience and their knowledge and their skill set. But it doesn't. Sorry, you were going to jump in.
Have you done like a typical route a typical route from where you started to be a partner? Is there an obvious route, or really is it because the experience and the things you've gone through, that's what's helped you get where you are? Or?
Yeah, there is, I mean, the typical route is you qualify and you just get your experience. And everyone's experience is different.
Yeah.
And it is in gaining that experience and in building your own personal brand, both within Taylor Wessing and externally in the marketplace, that you start building towards a business case to become a partner. And that starts sort of early on. As I say, everyone's own experiences are sort of different and personal, but the structure of support is there. So when and sort of Rachel will have this as she moves forward to qualification next year, we have a path to NQ program. So that is sort of allowing trainees to understand what's going to be expected of them at that next stage, and so looking forward and providing that support and that understanding of how the expectations on you as a lawyer change when you qualify.
Mm-hmm.
And then sort of there's training ongoing throughout, but then we have a path to senior associate program, which sort of culminates in a senior associate academy, which is an off-site assessment centre, and this focuses really on your skill set and your development needs, and how you can develop your brand and your contacts and your practice, and how you can sort of really sort of take that forward and take stock going forward as you become more senior within the firm. Mm-hmm. And then the final piece, I suppose, on the way is the path to partnership sort of track that we have. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say that everyone becomes partner, because not everyone does become a partner. Plenty of people go and do lots of fantastic things outside Taylor Wessing, but the support and the structure is there for you to carry on and do things at Taylor Wessing. And that's the sort of structure that we provide. But yeah, everyone's career is a personal journey, and everyone's career is different.
Lauren and Rachel, are you ready for your mission?
Just about. I can't believe how quickly it all comes around, like qualifying in under a year now. It's a bit scary.
It's
exciting.
And it's great to hear from you, Matt, in terms of all the experience that you've gained. You know, you've mentioned obviously working in the Supreme Court and stuff like that. Is there anything that you can tell us a bit about those experiences? And
so to me, to have one Supreme Court case was not something I ever expected in my career, but to have two in the space of 2 years was almost greedy. And I think unfortunately it may be a barren patch. Otherwise, I could start to sort of characterize myself as a specialist Supreme Court practitioner. It may be that I don't ever get there again. But the two cases that I went there were both for a company called Mylan. Right. The first related to a drug called pregabalin. And it was against Warner Lambert, which is part of the Pfizer company. Pregabalin was indicated for a number of different medical uses. So that was epilepsy, general anxiety disorder, and neuropathic pain. Only one of those, the neuropathic pain, was covered by the patent. And so the Supreme Court had to grapple with how to allow a generic company to launch for the two old existing indications, so epilepsy and general anxiety disorder, but not for the patented indication. And that raised some fairly difficult questions of law and also of regulatory practice. And I suppose just to show how difficult it was, the Supreme Court didn't really give an answer. So the decision was split 2-1. So there wasn't actually a clear majority.
Because it goes over my head a bit, and I think if it was the Supreme Court, it's a slightly sort of unclear result, unfortunately. Right. But yeah.
The second case, just a couple of sentences on that, was in relation to a drug called tadalafil against a company called Eli Lilly. So it was a case about a dosage regimen for the drug, and the drug was used to treat erectile dysfunction, which we particularly we started just calling the technical effect rather than continually talking about what it actually did. But the court in that case had to decide whether it would have been obvious to identify this particular dose, even though you couldn't have predicted that that was going to work at the start of the development program. In circumstances where you're just following a standard development program, which, albeit a very expensive clinical trials program, would inevitably lead you to the patented answer. And the answer on this one, I'm glad to say, was a little bit clearer from the Supreme Court. There was only one judgment, and everyone else just wrote "I agree," and they agreed with our client. So so that was effectively the patent was invalid, and our client could launch its tadalafil product.
Brilliant. That's quite an impressive thing to have on your CV, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah.
That's brilliant. So you never know, you might get there again.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
But no, thank you so much, everyone. I really do, I've really found it interesting, working with you guys over the last couple of weeks to put this webinar together. For me personally, when I'm speaking to students now, again, a law is something which, being a grad cracker personally for 10 years, I would never really think, about this, where a degree in STEM could take, and law not being one of them. So it's great now that I can help push that message for you guys as well, to the students that I'm speaking to on a regular basis. So now I'm going to hand you back to Sophie. Hopefully we can hear Sophie now, and her internet is fully functioning. If not, it'll be me, you and Alice.
Thank you so much, Jessica, and thank you so much, Lauren, Rachel and Matt. I think that's been really, really useful, and just the thought of, the types of things that you can go on and do now in your career. For Lauren and Rachel, listening to Matt must be really, really exciting, as well as, all of our audience that are now hopefully considering a career in law where maybe perhaps they weren't before. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot back to Alice now, just to kind of try and round everything off with, what does the application process now? Everyone's going to be rushing off after this webinar to apply to your insight events and your vacation scheme. So what does that process involve, Alice?
Yes, so the applications for the vacation scheme at Open Days are open, and you can apply for those through the GradCracker Hub. You just need to click through there and you can apply. We do, as I said before, look for you to be in your final year and beyond of your degree. And we do have some grade requirements. We look for you to either have or be on track for a 2-1, and also for ABB at A-level. But also to just add there, we do obviously accept mitigating circumstances. There's a space for you to put those in your application form. And we also use Rare Recruitment's contextualized recruitment system, which essentially is a system that allows us to look at levels of outperformance at A-level stage, as well as levels of disadvantage, so that we're able to recruit and look at everyone on a level playing field. So just to add there, if you may have had any circumstances that meant you haven't got ABB at A-level, that doesn't mean you can't apply, and please put that on the mitigating circumstances. And every single application is reviewed. We don't auto-reject anyone, so we'll be able to look at that for you. So from that, obviously, the first stage therefore would be the online application form. And this is really just the opportunity for us to get to know you a bit better. You put down your personal details, your education, your work experience, and there's some questions as well that we ask you to answer. A little tip there would be to have a look at the values that we have at our firm. They're super, super important to us at Taylor Wessing. They're what we live and breathe by. So if you go onto the careers page on Taylor Wessing, the 6 values are listed there. So have a look at those and how they kind of align with you and your beliefs, and make sure that you feed them into the application form. And once you've completed the application form, that's reviewed, and then we look to invite successful candidates to the next stage, which is a games-based assessment. So this is actually quite an exciting part of the application process. So essentially all it is we send you a link, you download a game, it can be to your phone, you can do it on the computer, on your iPad, tablet, whatever you wish to use it on. And you just complete a series of games. There's no prep needed. It's about 30 to 45 minutes, however long you want to spend on it. And essentially the game allows us to look at your different skills and behavioural traits. As I mentioned before, it's really important to us to recruit a diverse range of students to our training contract, and the game essentially allows us to look at all the different skills and qualities that you need as a lawyer, and allow us to make sure that we're recruiting lots of different people. The example we give is in regards to risk takers. So we hire up to 20 trainees each year. And if we hire 20 risk-taking trainees, that's not going to go well for Taylor Wessing, neither will it if everyone's adverse to risk. So it's really about finding that balance, and that's across all the different skills that you can have and behavioural traits. So that's the reason behind the game, and actually it is a really fun element that you can do. And it's the feedback we have is really positive. We were the first company to actually introduce that as well. So it is a kind of more relaxing, enjoyable experience than the other tests that you might come across. So once you've completed that game, also to add as well, you do get kind of a complete summary of all those skills for yourself. So it's really great to have a look at as well and see if there's anything that surprises you, anything that you can work on. So it does give you that feedback element as well. So yeah, afterwards we look at your application form and your games-based assessment results and look to invite successful candidates into an assessment centre. So usually these are a half day in the London office that you would be doing your training contract in, and it's a games-based, a group exercise, a commercial exercise, and then also a competency-based interview. With at least one partner. It could be two partners or a senior associate or a senior member of talent as well. So obviously bearing in mind that we are currently all at home, there is a chance that could be a virtual experience, but I think one of the things that we do really well here is make sure that everyone is prepped that's coming into the assessment centre. It's really important to us that you feel comfortable with the new experience, because we know it can be really daunting. So we call every single person up that's coming into our assessment centre, talk you through the day, talk you through the task, what you need to start looking at to prep yourself. And also we follow that up with an email, so people feel really, really comfortable. And obviously if there's anything different to kind of what I've said, we'd go through that on the call. So that's the way that we want to make you feel comfortable, because the whole idea behind the assessment centre is getting to know you better, seeing your potential, and inviting you then into the vacation scheme. So it's really important that you're ready for that. And then, yeah, that final stage is the vacation scheme, as I mentioned before, 2 weeks in either June and July. You get to sit in 2 different practice areas, and we do ask for your preference there, which I think is great. We look to try and align you with your interests, but there's so many networking opportunities as well throughout that vacation scheme, as well as focus on sessions where you can learn about all the different practice areas. We have sessions booked, so you know everything that we do at Taylor Wessing. And it's really a great opportunity for you to get to know us better, and whether we're the right firm for you to do your training contract with, as well as obviously us looking to see if you're the right person to offer the training contract for. So that's the entire process. As I said, yeah, you can apply now, and you can find the link through the Grad Cracker Hub.
Brilliant, thank you, Alice. And just quickly, if you could give maybe one or two hints or students watching today looking to apply to your Insight Day or vacation schemes, what would they be?
I kind of missed some of that. Was it your hints and tips for applying?
Hints and tips.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so I think I mentioned briefly our values. They are super, super important to us. They are looked at throughout every stage of the application process, when you're at the firm, how we communicate internally, externally, all the way up to partnership decisions. So having a look at the values, making sure there's a synergy between them. That's not us saying you need to change who you are if there isn't a synergy. That's just saying who we are and the kind of people that we're looking to recruit. So definitely get a really strong understanding of those and make sure that you're feeding them through in your application process. And I think one thing that I've taken kind of from what everyone said is just being yourself and being confident in yourself. There are all those transferable skills that has been touched upon that you will have from having your STEM background and the degree that you've done that are going to really help you to succeed in a career here. and being confident in yourself and your ability is going to help you to shine through throughout the whole application process. So I think that's really important to do and would be my main tip, really.
Brilliant. That's great. Thank you very much, Alice. And thank you very much, everyone else. You know, I personally have found it really useful. I hope you all have too. And speak on behalf of Sophie, yeah, I'm just, you know, again, thank you so much for joining us, because it's been a great session. So to the audience that are listening, remember the webinar has been recorded. So that'll be live on the website tomorrow. So it'll be within the Gradcracker Career Centre, but also Taylor Wessing's Company Hub as well. So if you want to re-watch, you'll be able to do that tomorrow morning. Also, just to let you all know that obviously me and Sophie will be back next week with Mubin and Alice. Obviously, we've talked quite a bit today about intellectual property. So if you're a bit inspired about that and want to know a bit more about that particular industry, join us next week, same time, same place. So Thursday at 2 till 3, and we'll be talking to them. But yeah, round everything up. Thank you very much. I hope everyone's super inspired and excited now, and actually, you know, aware and considering a career now in law, which is fantastic. So thank you very much, everyone, and I hope you have a nice rest of the day. Thanks for coming. Bye. Speak to you later. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.